3, 2, 1. Pradeep Patel, you are one of the partners of SP&P. Prior to that, you were the operations director of 3AB Care, which had 6 care homes, 2 of which were outstanding, which is quite an achievement, I must say. So, Pradeep, welcome to the Care Home Show.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you here. We always start with this question. So tell me, how did you, what was your kind of entry into the healthcare and kind of social care world?
Right, so as I was growing up, a young lad, my dad was a pharmacist, independent local pharmacist, and served his community for 35 years.
Wow.
So, yeah, as I was growing up, obviously used to help him out, be involved in running the shop and running his errands for him, and that was kind of my introduction to serving a community, giving something back. And I think that's what that taught me. My dad was a big advocate of being part of the community. He knew all of his customers by first name. He knew most of their routines, and to watch that and observe that from my perspective showed me that it showed me how much he was able to give back to his community, and he made a difference to those people. They trusted him, they relied upon him, and that was my first introduction to kind of care sector, and from there purchased a care home in the early 2000s, and that was kind of a baptism of fire. So
It so often is.
So we purchased that, and that was my introduction to the elderly care sector, and it taught me a lot. We purchased a care home that was struggling at the time, so it was a turnaround, and then that taught me a lot. It taught my dad, and my brother and sister came on board, and it taught them a lot, and we grew a portfolio of 6 care homes.
Wow.
So that was a journey. That's what I did for 15, 16 years, and then I joined you guys.
You did indeed. Well, with a track record like that, Pradeep, it was hard not to get you on board. So yeah, I always I remember one of the first times we ever kind of sat down to kind of listen to you talk so passionately about what you'd done previously and kind of where you'd all started as well. Because I mean, your model was to buy particularly challenging homes, wasn't it? I don't think any of them. I don't think buying care homes in any way, shape or form doesn't come without its challenges, but the types of homes that you were buying were kind of rip-roaring turnarounds in whatever capacity that might have looked like. So the fact that you've managed to get them to a point where you've got 2 outstanding homes, which is pretty incredible, and then obviously the rest of the portfolio performs incredibly well from a care quality perspective, from a cultural perspective, and then from kind of a sustainability and from a business performance perspective. That's some hard yards. So yeah, it's good to be able to sit down and have this conversation again on film and get to share it with the world. So yeah, thank you for that. It's obviously you're very passionate about what you do, otherwise you wouldn't have been as successful as you have been. But tell me, so why is what you do so important to you personally?
I think the key thing, and again it goes back to my dad, and it's something that he always advocated and he kind of instilled in us, is that if you can make a difference, if you can make an impact on someone's life, and that to me is what drives me, what motivates me. If I can make a difference, if I can make a positive impact on someone's life, if I can make their life experience amazing, then that's what makes me tick. That's what I'm passionate about. That's what I always used to say to my team members, is that make a difference. If you can put a smile on someone's face, then you've made a difference. That should be more valuable to you than anything. Yeah, we all get paid, but to put a smile on an elderly person's face, you've made a difference. That's impactful. So that's what drives me. That's my main motivator.
And yeah, it's clear because that kind of radiates out you. I've seen your work and the stuff that you do, obviously, since we've been working together, and it's just so clear that that's an integral part of the person that you are. Your father's clearly a very wise man. So to instill that those values in you from such an early age. So, Pradeep, I think. So you've come from a background as an operator. You've taken a group of homes through a journey from taking them through, as we said, all of them had quite a lot of challenges when you first took them on, through to having 2 outstanding homes. So I think the audience is going to be really interested to find out a little bit more about that journey, what that's meant, the perspectives that you have, the insights that you can share, because I think it's something that people. Often there are quite a lot of misconceptions around what it takes to achieve outstanding, but also to be able to understand what that journey looks like as well, because there are a lot of people out there that are saying to themselves, more now than ever, I feel that they want to undergo that journey and they want to be able to achieve everything that they possibly can achieve. So I'm going to start with almost like a negative question. I'll explain why. I get posed the question quite a lot of times. Why would I want to aim for outstanding? Isn't it kind of a bit of a poison chalice? Because isn't there's only one way but down? And it's a question that it gets posed to me quite a lot. So interested to hear your perspective on that type of a question.
So, I mean, when we started on our journey, we were, like I said, typically buying turnaround care homes, and I think the first thing that we always tried to instill was to set the standard. We set the standard and the expectations. And when I first started out, that was kind of it was something that we did just as a matter of process. So if we set the expectations for our teams and we expected them to deliver, that would then look like something that was positive, and that would get us on the journey to being compliant and delivering good care. I was fortunate enough to undertake an MBA, and what that taught me was that we were doing a lot of stuff that was good and amazing, and although we were doing it by default, there was theory, there was some substance to what we were doing.
Put a structure around everything.
And so the MBA put structure around it, it put theories behind a lot of the stuff that we were doing. And like I said, we were doing it by default. But to get that almost like that stamp to say that it's approved and it is actually out there and people are using it in other industries. And again, the MBA allowed me to mix with other industries, people from other organisations, be that not-for-profit, charitable organisations, or massive, councils, etc. And to be able to share your experiences and knowledge and understanding of the way you do things and the way that other organisations do it and get that validation. I think that was an important lesson for me. But again, I also learned that there are so many opportunities out there to develop teams and develop culture and vision and values. And I think the main driver for me in any care business or any care service or care organisation should be that you start with a solid foundation with a good vision. And from that vision you create, or your teams create, solid values.
Absolutely.
And that then leads to a positive culture, and behaviours that are associated with those values. And I think if everyone pulls together, that everyone's in alignment, then you will have a successful business. And I think that's how I built the foundations for getting from where I was.
Got you. So it was understanding, learning about the kind of because you learnt about the kind of theories behind setting an intent, a vision, and values, all of that type of stuff. Whilst you were doing your MBA, you were then able to be able to hear other people's experiences from different sectors, to see that that's kind of an industry agnostic thing, right? It's just a case of, right, so if you've got very clear expectations around what you're striving to achieve in the operating system for the people that sit within the organisation, that when that's embedded and when that's lived by the team, that ultimately you're going to have real clear expectation around the direction of travel for the team, and as you put it, to be able to get everyone to pull in the same direction, to have that real alignment. So, and how valuable was that for you within within 3AB to be able to validate the theoretical and then to kind of put it into practice in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was fortunate to have that opportunity to do my MBA, and I think that validation then encourages you to then strive to further improve. Mm-hmm. And I think what's important is that as operators and as owners of care home businesses, you have to be on that journey of continuous improvement. Mm. You have to keep moving forward. And, you know, my dad always said to me that the day you stop investing, the day you stop moving forward, is the day that your business will go backwards. Mm. So I think we see it more and more now. We work with, you know, operators with great intent. Mm-hmm. And it's about converting that intent into something that's usable for their teams to then take the business forward. Mm-hmm. I think, like you said, it's an operating system, and without an operating system, you know, a computer would be useless. Yeah. So I think it's, again, that notion of creating that way of working, that way of thinking, and embedding that in your teams and your workforce. That's the key to success. Mm-hmm. And I think, like I said, the MBA validated that and encouraged me to then share that and move that forward and help others to get that understanding. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that's part of the reason why we're working together, other than the fact that obviously you're a top bloke. But yeah, it's interesting how we've always talked as an organisation about how passionate we are about culture, organisational culture for us, and then equally for our clients, because it's such a, I always say that it's developing a high performance culture is one of the most undervalued investments that any business can make, let alone a care home business. So it was a bit of a meeting of minds when we first sat down together, and obviously that's a big part of what we do today within SP&P. So, okay, great. Thank you for explaining that. So I'm going to ask you a slightly different question to the one that I was actually going to, but how would you say culture links back to achieving outstanding CQC inspections?
So again, I think the CQC have that expectation. You look at the Chloes and you look at the well-led Chloe in particular. A cornerstone of that Chloe alone is culture, vision and values. So again, there's an understanding and there's a realisation that for any successful, outstanding care home business, it has to be built off a sound set of values and beliefs and culture. So that in itself should drive owners to think that, or to feel the notion that it's kind of the foundation. All the other Chloes kind of build off that well-led base. Sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's fundamental. I think it's the most important. I think, like I said, if you can nail that well-led Chloe, everything else builds off that. You know, your management and your managers, your deputy managers, etc., at care home level will have a way to operate. They'll understand the expectations. They'll understand the journey that they need to be on to get to good and outstanding. Without that, you're kind of running a business by default,
Sure.
and you will create drift, cultural drift, and that doesn't lead to success. We know that. So yeah, it's taking the chance out. It's having something certain. It's having something to lead off, to direct those teams.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And in your mind, what does it take to get to outstanding? Obviously, you've done it twice now, so that wasn't by accident. There's a method in there. So, what for you personally? What do you believe that it takes to achieve outstanding?
I believe, and again, it's different for different organisations. The way I looked at it was that as a group and as an organisation, what we did was we focused on attention to detail, and that's from the resident's perspective, And my advice to any operator would be that is to always go above and beyond. Attention to every single detail for that resident, to make sure that when they come into your service, that their life experience is amazing. Just because they're coming into a care home doesn't mean that they need to compromise on their lifestyle. Why should they?
Sure.
Surely we should be out there to enhance and to make that lifestyle the best experience that it can be. And again, that's going above and beyond. Why shouldn't a resident have a bucket list? Things that they maybe couldn't achieve, that we can now, put in place for them, manage risk, and help them achieve those things. And that's the kind of thinking that I think all operators need to be moving towards, is that just because you're a care home, it doesn't mean that you can't enhance that experience for that individual, and that's key, and that's important for me.
And do you think, should all care homes be striving to achieve an outstanding CQC inspection in your opinion?
Again, we work with clients, and my advice to them would always be to aim for outstanding plus, or above and beyond outstanding. And we've worked with operators with good intent that are already doing that. It's not a case of just aiming for outstanding. It's about going above and beyond that. And I think if you have that intent and you have that vision and ambition to do that, outstanding shouldn't be a problem for you.
And do you mean by that that people should kind of set their own benchmark for what they believe outstanding should be, that should be above and beyond kind of what the CQC recognises? Is that kind of what you're steering towards with that?
Yeah, so, don't just stop at what the CQC deem as outstanding. Set your expectations high and aim higher. So, again, it's having that intent, it's having that ambition to go above and beyond.
I know one thing that you talk a lot about is almost like a virtuous cycle of improvement, and I guess that's how you've ended up with two outstanding homes, because it's not a case of, and I guess this flies in the face of the question that I'd been asked previously around kind of, is it a poison chalice? Is there only one way down? It's like, well, no, because there's always going to be opportunities to improve. You need to be committed to that, and it's not going to be easy, of course. But if you're continually striving for that level of improvement, then the only way is up. All things being told.
Yeah. Again, as an owner or an operator, you want your business to be successful. You want to create a situation where the residents have amazing life experiences, and you have a successful business. Now, most people know that care home business is built on reputation, and to build and enhance a good reputation takes time, money, and effort.
Yeah.
And again, as an operator, I always used to think to myself that the day that I stop reinvesting in that business is the day that it will go backwards. So yeah, it's a virtuous cycle. You have to continuously invest and improve and move forward. And yeah, the day you stop, you fall off the wheel.
Yeah, it's having that, reinforcing that positive intent throughout the process, and just keep moving for bigger and better achievements. It's interesting what you said about a care home's kind of success being coming from its reputation. I mean, I completely agree with that. So from the perspective of recruitment, how did having an outstanding home, how did that impact the kind of the challenges around recruitment? Because obviously it's tough out there, right? It's not easy to be able to recruit. Would you say there was a direct upside from having an outstanding home because of the brand and reputation from an employer perspective was so much better because people knew that you were driving for those to achieve an outstanding CQC inspection, and not only that, but those life experiences for the residents?
Yeah, most definitely. I think if you look at homes that have achieved that outstanding, and you look at their CQC reports, I think one of the key things that the CQC pick up is that all staff are supported, they're valued, they're well looked after, and I think that in itself, again, with reputation and with social media, and people, talk and communicate about how they enjoy their work, they enjoy working at this care home, and people go to work with a smile on their face, and it's just that positivity. And I think that in itself, that reputational positivity, it makes recruitment and retention far easier.
Yeah.
And that's as opposed to those care homes that are struggling. It's almost that notion that why would you want to go and work there? So yeah, I think a good reputation in your local community is far better. Improves recruitment and retention, and it's
a big win.
Yeah, it's a big easy win, big win.
And from the perspective of occupancy as well, I can imagine that once you achieve an outstanding CQC inspection, then again that you're already going to have a great reputation by virtue of the fact that you're delivering that level of care. But once you've achieved that, you've kind of got that rubber stamp to say that you are going above and beyond and things. Would you say that from the perspective of kind of occupancy percentages and achieving kind of attracting more privately funded residents and achieving kind of better fee rates and things like that, would you say that those things are kind of directly linked as well to having an outstanding CQC inspection?
Definitely. I think you'll as an operator you'll see an uplift in your fee rates. You'll see an uplift in your occupancy in general overall, and I think you'll also see waiting lists, which ultimately for your business is fantastic.
It's like the utopia, right?
Yeah, every operator wants that. But again, it's that hard work that you have to put in to get to outstanding, to build that reputation, to get that banner outside that says CQC rated us outstanding. And yeah, it pulls in your residents.
So generally, from your perspective, so the CQC's validation around the being outstanding, that's a big win from a cultural perspective. That's a big win from a CQC perspective, obviously, but then obviously from the life experience of the residents, it's going to be immense for those guys as well. But then also from the perspective of the kind of the commerciality of the business, because I mean, you two biggest levers that you can pull to achieve kind of a better kind of commercial output is always going to be fixing your recruitment and retention, driving occupancy, private fee fares, and the overall average weekly fees themselves. So I guess they all kind of contribute to each other.
Yep.
And so would you say that the thing that the connective tissue between all of those things ultimately is the culture that underpins the approach for all of that, and that's where the operating system comes from.
Again, I firmly believe that culture is the building block for that business, and to have a positive learning culture is so important, especially for care home businesses.
Sure. And in your mind, because there will be a lot of people who have got a good care home out there who are striving to achieve that outstanding CQC inspection. In your mind, what's the difference so that people can kind of understand, okay, so where are we falling short? What do we need to improve to get to achieve that outstanding CQC inspection?
I think it's a case of fine-tuning. I mean, we've worked with operators that are good out there, and again, the values and the behaviours that are associated with those values. A lot of operators out there will say that we've got a set of values and we've got a culture. Is that firmly embedded? Are those values being utilised? Do they live by those values every day?
Mm-hmm.
Does that run through the whole team?
Yeah.
How well are they doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the difference. It's a fine-tuning thing.
Mm-hmm.
We go in and we pick up that yes, they have those in place. However, when you do a deeper dive, they're not embedded.
Mm.
And that's the difference. I think it's all good and well having it there on a piece of paper or on a website.
Mm.
Do your staff team live by those values day by day?
Mm-hmm.
Only when you get to that stage where they're living those values will you see a difference in the delivery of care to those residents, and you will see an impact. And that's the difference. I think it's a fine-tuning thing.
And I guess one of the things that we've seen in the consultancy work, in the professional services work that we do, is the difference between just having values and then having broken down on a very kind of specific level, kind of you mentioned around the behaviours and the mindset and what's the meaning behind those values, to make them come to life so that they are more meaningful, so people can better connect on it. That the people, when I say the people, the team can better connect with those, and it becomes embedded in the team because it's used as a decision-making tool on a day-by-day basis. Anytime any new decision that comes up, it just becomes a natural kind of default setting for the people and for the team themselves.
Yeah, again, we talked about recruitment and retention, recruiting to your values. That's so important. When you're looking at embedding new staff members into your service, if they have a different outlook or a different view or a different set of values to the ones that you are trying to instill and trying to deliver, are they necessarily going to be the right people for you? If you're trying to go in one direction to get that alignment and get that momentum and get that power to get you on that journey, if you've got people pulling in different directions because they have a different set of values or a different set of beliefs, it makes it immensely difficult to get to where you want to.
Pulling in from different directions, aren't they? Yeah, it just ends up causing problems. And I guess that's where I would say, and this is somewhat anecdotal, but when I speak to care home operators, 90% of the challenges that they're experiencing are people problems.
Yeah.
You can have the greatest systems in the world, but if the people aren't doing what they're meant to, they're not showing up in the right way because their culture hasn't been designed and it's not part of the fabric of who they are as a team, or maybe even they've got the wrong people in place in the first place. Again, you can have those best systems in place, but if people aren't using them properly and to their full and in their entirety because the culture's wrong, then you're going to see poor occupancy, you're going to see not great average weekly fees, you're going to see lower privately funded residents. Recruitment and retention is going to be harder. Your care quality is not going to be what it could be. The residents, most importantly, the residents' life experience isn't going to be everything that it could be, and that again, that comes back to people more than anything else. So, okay, so Pradeep, a little bit of a change of gear, if you like, but in your mind, where, from a sector perspective, where are we? What are we doing well, and where are the opportunities in your mind for us to be able to improve?
Okay, I think one of the key areas that the sector as a whole can improve is sharing the good stuff, the good knowledge, the good practice, the good experiences. I think as a sector in general, people have an unwillingness to do that. And I don't see why. I think we should shout from the rooftops when something positive or good happens, and we've done that. Then why not share that so that you have an impact on the wider care home communities. I think that's been historically the way the care home sector has worked. I think more recently things are changing with social media and LinkedIn and that kind of thing. I think people are more willing to share the good things. And there's some fantastic work going on in the sector, and I think it's important that as a sector we embrace that and we use that to make an impact on every resident in the care home sector. There's amazing work. Angela Boxall does some fantastic work with engagement and
She does.
and vision and the workforce being valuable and the team being valuable as an asset. I think that's the kind of thinking that we need to be moving towards as an industry and as a sector. That we're here to make an impact on the lives of a lot of vulnerable people, a growing number of vulnerable people. Let's make that easier to do by sharing all the good stuff. So yeah, I think that's an opportunity.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because there are, and I'd say still, because I think you're right, like we are moving towards a world of greater collaboration. I think that's maybe not just specifically within the care sector, but just because of things like social media and things like that, it's just easier to share content. People's worldviews are able to be distributed in a digital kind of format and things, but there are still people who have this kind of scarcity mindset where they want to put their arms around everything and keep it to themselves, and that builds these silos and these walls. And it's unfortunate because it's often the people that want to be able to kind of wrap their arms around their business and not kind of let anyone else in and not be open to what else is going on in the sector. Personal opinion, but I just think they're going to be the guys that are really, really like going to struggle because the world's moving faster and faster. And I think if you're going to end up missing out on opportunities if you don't have that level of open-mindedness. So I think to your point, the world is definitely shifting towards more of an abundance mindset, one where people are being more open. They want to be able to share. They want to be able to make available what they know, so that people can start breaking down those walls. But it's still a journey that we're on. We're not quite there yet. So. Yeah, no, I completely agree, all things being told. So how about, what are we doing well in your mind? What do you get excited about when you see things from a sector perspective that's going in the right direction?
I think one of the key shifts more recently is the embracing of new technology. I think as a sector, one thing that surprised me is the rate at which the sector is taking on, for example, computer care plans. There's a massive expectation to document everything, and the computer systems that we see coming through now are logging and documenting massive amounts of information. Again, that is allowing the carers to care. It's taking that pressure to write and document everything. It's kind of not eradicating it, but it's releasing that time intense sitting down and writing. We're able to log amazing amounts of data on a daily basis, and it's all done through computer-aided systems. So I think the fact that the industry and the sector is able to do that, I think that's commendable. And I think the CQC are right in pushing the fact that, again, in the Chloes, they embrace the fact that innovation and technology needs to be embraced by all care homes. So yeah, that's a positive shift, and I think that will move forward, and one day, who knows, robots.
Well, I obviously did the episode with Sanjeev Kanoria and Chris Papadopoulos recently around socially competent robots for supporting older people and people living with dementia. I was really, really sceptical when I first did that interview. I think we all were on some level, just because I think the kind of the mainstream perception of robots is probably not as good as it might be. But the work that those guys are doing is absolutely immense, and it sounds like, I mean, they haven't finished the research project yet, but that genuinely sounded very, very positive. So I'll be looking forward to doing another episode with those guys in the future once they're in the next stage of that evolution. But you are absolutely right. I mean, we're living in a world which is becoming increasingly more technological. It's becoming increasingly more digital, and that's just the world as we experience it. So we need to make sure that the care sector as a whole needs to be keeping up with innovation, with change, because it's going to make it will make improvements. It will drive efficiencies. It will ensure that people and teams are in a better position to be able to support the vulnerable people within our society. So, no, definitely on board with that thought process. You've obviously, I mean, you led an increasingly growing team at 3AB, and that must have. You mentioned the kind of phraseology, baptism of fire. That must have come with some really interesting leadership lessons. What would you say personally for you? What would you say your biggest leadership lessons have been?
Again, I think having that ability to listen, to treat everyone as individuals, to communicate properly with them. I think those are the three most important things that I would ensure that every leader had. And, you know, as an industry, we have to be compassionate. And I think that's a key value. And within that, you get the responsibility to listen to and understand people as individuals. You know, we're in a people sector. We look after vulnerable people, and our key resource is people. So I think if you're not minded and you're not aware of the need to listen and to understand, then I don't think you'll be successful. I don't think it's the sector for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be the key leadership areas that I would focus on.
Sure. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. If you were to give, we're talking about obviously the sector being very much a people-focused organisation, so if there was a person looking to make a positive impact within the care sector that you were able to give just one piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be?
Lead by example. I think if we assume that you are in the sector because you've got the right intent, I think one of the key things is that even as an owner or an operator, I think that if you set the standard, if you set the bar, then there's no reason why the organisation or the team as a whole shouldn't follow that. I think you will get organisations that are unsuccessful because of absent senior management, and that's where you get the cultural drift and the lack of responsibility from teams because the agenda hasn't been set. So yeah, lead by example.
I think that's a great piece of advice. I can't advocate that one anymore. And for you personally, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever been given?
I think my dad told me many moons ago, treat people the way that you would expect to be treated. And again, it's a simple thing in life that if you treat people the way that you would want to be treated, then you can't go far wrong. Your expectations are, if you've got high expectations, then, you know, but yeah, I think treating people the way that you would want to be. I think that's respectful. And again, we're in an industry where, or a sector where, you know, one of our key aims is to make sure that everyone that comes into our service is treated with dignity, respect, and you know, they're listened to. So yeah, treat everyone the way that you would want to be treated.
Solid advice. Pradeep Patel, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much.
Cheers for your time.
Thank you.